Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Dave, welcome back to Wilde Reads. This is the August wrap up. Yes, summer has been and gone. It is now September, so that for me is autumn. I know that it's not officially the end of summer till the clocks go back or some other metric that they use to work these things out. For me, as soon as the calendar says it's September, that signals to me that it is autumn. Although it is quite a nice day today. And this video is coming to you a little bit later than normal because me and Vicky went out last night and we had sore heads this morning. So I couldn't get the video done yesterday and I couldn't get it done this morning. So it's coming to you a little bit later, which is fine. Anyway, so this is the wrap up. Now, I didn't have a great reading month. I've still done all right in terms of numbers, but it was just I couldn't get a flow to my reading. Well, no, I don't actually know. So it just felt very laboured last month. The reading was, I really had to sort of not force myself, but yes, force myself in a way to get through the books that I wanted to get through. It wasn't because I wasn't enjoying them, it just felt I was easily distracted last month. So I'm glad to get it out the way really, and so I can start a new month with a great list of books that I've got to read this month. Well, not got to read, but you know, this isn't a job, but books that I'd like to read this month, which you can see in my September TBR, which I put up a couple of videos ago, or last video. Anyway, in this wrap-up, it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of vlog style, and then I'll be coming back to you after that and listing the books that I didn't film something for after I'd finished reading them, if that makes any sense at all. Anyway, let's get on with the books. So, I am here to tell you about a book that I've literally just finished about 5 minutes ago, and that is The Lido by Libby Page. There's been a lot of buzz about this book on social media, and I've heard very, very good things about it. I really, really enjoyed it, gave it 4 stars. It's this is uplit. Basically, it's a very uplifting tale. It's well written. It's got some wonderful characters in it. This book is about, really, the central characters are 2 women. There's a woman called Kate who has moved to Brixton, southeast London or South London. Now, Brixton's had a lot of really bad press over the years, but for various reasons. There's a lot of racial tension there. But what Brixton's got, and what I've heard about Brixton as well, is that there's a wonderful sense of community. And that's one of the overwhelming themes throughout this book, is that there's this great sense of community. So Kate, she is a journalist. She has moved to London. She works on the Brixton Chronicle, I think it is, a local paper. And she feels very out of place in the city. She's got no friends. She suffers with anxiety. She suffers with panic attacks. And she makes a friend. This friend is an 87, I think, year old woman called Rosemary. And what happens is Rosemary swims every day in her local Lido. It's a real place. It's Brockwell Lido. And the Lido is threatened with closure. There's going to be, the council have said that they can't run it anymore for financial reasons. It's just too costly and not enough people use it. So it's not financially viable to keep it open. Rosemary has been swimming at this library since she was a little girl, and she's got very fond memories of swimming there with her late husband. She very rarely leaves Brixton, so the Lido is really her life, and all of her memories are there. So Kate befriends Rosemary, takes on the story, and they battle along with the other members of the community to save this local hub of the community from being concreted over by a development corporation. But really, really enjoyable book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Gave it 4 stars, as I said. That's The Lido by Libby Page, which is a debut novel, and it's very, very good. I do recommend it. Very uplifting. On to the next book. Well, I've just finished this book. This is Crude by Olivia Laing. And this may be one of those occasions where I may be thinking about this book too soon. I'm sorry if this light's a little bit bright. Let's try and get this out of shot. Oh, some very strange things happening there. Yeah, this might be
Oh, let's just adjust this a little bit. Am I too glary? Oh look, you can see all my lines. Oh dear. Anyway, this is a very strange book. At times, it's a very short book. I finished it in 2 sittings, really. After the first session of it, which I only read about 30-40 pages, my first thought was, what the hell is going on here? It takes a little bit of getting into, and I'm still not fully understood of what this is about. But basically, this book is about now. It's very topical. There are topical references aplenty, and I've heard the accusation that it's just a load of topical references shoehorned into an experimental type novel that doesn't really string itself together in any way. It is odd, it is weird. So Olivia Laing in this book is Kathy Acker. Kathy Acker was a sort of punk novelist back in the 90s. She's been dead a long time. But I don't know whether this is Olivia Laing writing as Kathy Acker, or Olivia Laing writing as Kathy Acker pretending to be. I still don't know. What I do know is that I quite like it. It's really odd. This book is going to really divide people, because there are going to be those that just don't get it, and I sort of count myself in that camp, because I don't fully understand it, I don't fully get it, but I like it. And that's really odd for me, because usually if I don't get it, I just don't like it. But this book is, and I think I'll go back and reread it at some point, it's just one of those strange kind of books. It's written brilliantly. The sentences, the construction of it it's like genius, really. It's like a stream of consciousness. It's like nothing else I've read. I don't think I've read anything quite like this. And it's got rather a fetching cover of crustaceans. If you ignore the fly, that is a real fly on there. I haven't just picked up a fly on this book. It is printed. It's odd. It's an odd little book. I've given it 4 stars though, because in a weird, messed up kind of way, I really like it. I haven't really collected all my thoughts together on it yet. I don't know what order those thoughts are in. It's a bit of a mind-blowing book, in that, yeah, you like it, but you're not sure really why you like it. It's that kind of book. This is why reading's so brilliant, because occasionally you get these things that, like this, that you read and you like and you're not sure why. Hello, I've just finished a book that quite possibly could be my book of the year. And if it doesn't make my book of the year, then it's certainly going to be on the short list for my book of the year. And this book is A Story of a Marriage by Geir Gulliksen. Now, Geir Gulliksen is Norwegian, and this is translated obviously into English from the Norwegian. It's a brilliant translation job, and the translation's by Deborah Dawkin. This has come out from Hogarth Books. It came out this year. It's bloody fantastic. I really got into this book. I loved it. Loved the characters. Love the story. It's a very sexy book. It's quite explicit at times. That's not why it might be my book of the year, by the way. But it just adds to the story. This is about a couple. They're trying to leave. So the guy, John, is in his second relationship with his wife, Timmy. It's a very sort of modern relationship. He almost encourages her to have this affair and this relationship with this guy that she meets at work. He calls him Glove Man, as a sort of narky nickname for him. He does it for a variety of reasons. He does it, A, to prove that there's no ownership in this relationship. It's a very sort of modern take on the relationship. It's almost like voyeuristic in a way, because he wants her to develop this relationship with this other guy, and he thinks he's strong enough to withstand it. But then, and he wants, they're very open in the beginning. She tells him everything that she talks about with this other guy. And nothing happens between them for quite some time. Although, inevitably, it does in the end. And John can't handle it in the end. And it sends their relationship into a spiral. But it's a brilliant book. Really, really brilliant. Fantastic writing. I really, really enjoyed it. Story of a Marriage, Geir Gulliksen. Now, Geir Gulliksen in Norway is quite well known. He's quite famous. And when he was publishing this in Norway, his then ex-wife was going to sue him for fictionalising their relationship. She thought this book was about her. I don't know how true that is, because I don't know enough about Geir Gulliksen's private life to be able to pass any sort of comment on that. But it just makes for another interesting backdrop for the story. So it's really, really good. It's so intense. It's so erotic. It's got a bit of everything. I loved it. I do recommend it. It's probably not for everyone. It's quite short as well. It's probably not for everyone, but I really enjoyed it. 170 pages it is. Story of a Marriage by Geir Gulliksen. Brilliant cover as well, by the way. Yeah, it's definitely going to make my shortlist for the books of the year so far.
Hello, me again. Right, so the books that I didn't film anything after I'd finished reading them were these. First one is The Grey Bar Hotel by Curtis Dawkins. This was sent to me very kindly by the lovely people over at Canongate. So thank you very much, Canongate, for sending me this. This is an interesting little book. It's like a collection of short stories, but they're all connected. So it's like an interwoven, interconnected series of short stories. And what's interesting about it is the author, Curtis Dawkins, is actually serving a long, very, very long jail sentence in the United States. Curtis Dawkins grew up in rural Illinois and earned an MFA in fiction writing at Western Michigan University. He has struggled with alcohol and substance abuse through most of his life, and during a botched robbery killed a man on Halloween 2004. Since late 2005, he's been serving a life sentence with no possibility of parole in various prisons throughout Michigan. He has 3 children with his partner Kim, who is a writing professor living in Portland, Oregon. The writing in this is really, really good. I think some of the stories were weaker than others, but as a little collection of short stories, and short stories is, I've got a lot of them, but I don't often get to them. It's a little bit of a push for me really to start reading more short stories, but The Grey Bar Hotel is a good little collection, and it just adds that little bit of spice to it to know that, so all of the short stories are about prison life and what goes on in prison, and some of it's quite horrifying, some of it's fascinating. But it's an interesting little collection of short stories. So that's The Grey Bar Hotel by Curtis Dawkins. Another one that I got to, and I read this as a buddy read, doing a lot of buddy reads this year. I'm really enjoying them actually. I've got a couple more to pencil in as well. But I read The Paper Lovers with Gerard Woodward with Amanda, who is the great girl behind Bookish Chat, one of my favourite book blogs. And we were chatting on Twitter. Or tweeting on Twitter. Do you chat on Twitter or do you tweeting on Twitter? I found out that Amanda hadn't done any buddy reading before, so I knew that she bought this book. She knew that I had it as well. I bought this in Wales. I think Amanda got it for her birthday as a present from her husband. So we decided to buddy read it together, and I really, really enjoyed this. I was hovering between giving it a 4 and a 5, but it's a really, really good book. And I knew nothing about the author, Gerard Woodward, but he's been quite prolific. He's written a lot of novels. And it says here, Gerard Woodward is a prize-winning writer of poetry, short stories and a number of novels, including an acclaimed trilogy comprising August, which was shortlisted for the 2001 Whitbread First Novel Award, I'll Go to Bed at Noon, which was shortlisted for the 2004 Man Booker Prize, and A Curious Earth. He was born in London 1961 and he is Professor of Creative Writing at Bath Spa University. I really liked him. He's one of those writers that I haven't read before, but he's one of those writers instantly connect with his style of writing, and I love it when that happens. So I will certainly be reading more of Gerard Woodward. And this book was really, really good. So the blurb says, Arnold Proctor's quiet life is thrown off balance when he falls obsessively in love with Vera, a religious woman and one of his wife's friends. Vera seems untroubled by her wrongdoing, yet faithless Arnold is racked with guilt. He has never believed in God, but now he wonders if he truly believes in anything at all. Now, Arnold's wife makes paper, as you can see there. It's got this brilliant cover here. So she makes bespoke handmade paper and she sells it in her shop. And interestingly enough, they start a poetry imprint as well, and they start publishing poetry. And there's some wonderful little set pieces in this book. And as I said, I was hovering between giving it a 5 or a 4. I settled on a 4 after a day or so thinking about it. But it's a really, really good story. It's not too heavy on the religion, which I was a bit wary of at first, because I'd read some reviews on Goodreads that says it does get a bit religious in parts. I didn't think it came across as overly religious. But yes, I enjoyed it. It was a very, very good book. And yeah, I'd recommend that one. Paper Lovers, Gerard Woodward, published by Picador. And the last one that I finished this month was The Psychopath Test by John Ronson. This was okay. I was expecting it because on the back it says, Will Self says, I began the psychopath test late at night, tired, dispirited and ill. Then found myself laughing like the proverbial loon for page after page. I didn't find it that funny. It's very interesting and it does make you question a lot of what's in here. For instance, the definition of a psychopath, they use this checklist called the Hare checklist, and it does make you, as you're reading the points that define what makes a psychopath, you're sort of ticking people off that you know in your head, and you're thinking, yeah, that seems quite psychopathic, and so does that, and so does that. Wow, perhaps this person is a psychopath. So it is interesting, and there's John Ronson goes all over the world researching this book, and I haven't read his other books as well, which are Them, Adventures with Extremists, and The Men Who Stare at Goats, which is quite famous, The Men Who Stare at Goats. But yeah, I thought it was okay. Again, I haven't given this a rating yet, but I think I'll end up giving it a 4. It was a sort of 3.5, 4. I did enjoy it. That's all the books I've got for you for this wrap up. I will see you again on Wednesday at the normal time this time for another booktube video. Whatever you're doing this week, enjoy your books, and I'll see you back here on Wednesday for another booktube video. Until then, take care. Bye bye.